Do you know the actual story about Daniel in the lion's den? This is Scripture Simplified, and we're going to simplify some scripture that we have heard about since some of you were children. The Daniel in the lion's den has been a story that has been widely spread, but let's read where it actually comes from. You can start Daniel's journey in the book of Daniel, but we're in chapter 5 today. So we're going to start where they're trying to convict Daniel and where they throw him in with the lions. Daniel chapter 6, verse 5. So they concluded, our only chance of finding grounds for accusing Daniel will be in connection with the rules of his religion. So the administrators and high officers went to the king and said, long live King Darius. We are all in agreement, we administrators, officials, high officers, advisors, and governors, that the king should make a law that will be strictly enforced. Give orders that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except you, your majesty, will be thrown into the den of lions. And now, your majesty, issue and sign this law so it cannot be changed, an official law of the Medes and Persians that cannot be revoked. So King Darius signed the law. But when Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he went home. He knelt down as usual in his upstairs room, with its windows open towards Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he had always done, giving thanks to his God. Then the officials went together to Daniel's house and found him praying and asking for God's help. So they went straight to the king and reminded him of his law. Did you not sign a law for the next 30 days that any person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except you, your majesty, will be thrown into the den of lions? Yes, the king replied, that decision stands. It is an official law of the Medes and the Persians that cannot be revoked. Then they told the king, that man Daniel, one of the captives from Judah, is ignoring you and your law. He is still praying to his God 3 times a day. Hearing this, the king was deeply troubled, and he tried to think of a way to save Daniel. He spent the rest of the day looking for a way to get Daniel out of this predicament. In the evening, the men went together to the king and said, your majesty, you know that according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, that no law that a king signs can be changed. So at last the king gave orders for Daniel to be arrested and to be thrown into the lion's den. The king said to him, may your God, whom you serve so faithfully, rescue you. A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den. The king sealed the stone with his own royal seal and the seals of his nobles, so that no one could rescue Daniel. Then the king returned to his palace and spent the night fasting. He refused his usual entertainment and couldn't sleep at all that night. Very early the next morning, the king got up and hurried out to the lion's den. When he got there, he called out in anguish, Daniel, servant of the living God, was your God, whom you serve so faithfully, able to rescue you from the lions? Daniel answered, long live the king! My God sent his angel to shut the lion's mouth so that they would not hurt me, for I have been found innocent in his sight, and I have not wronged you, your majesty. The king was overjoyed and ordered that Daniel be lifted from the den. Not a scratch was found on him, for he had trusted in his God. Then the king gave the orders to arrest the men who had maliciously accused Daniel. He had them thrown into the lion's den along with their wives and children. The lions leaped on them and tore them apart before they even hit the floor of the den. Then King Darius sent this message to the people of every race and nation and language throughout the world. Peace and prosperity to you. I decree that everyone throughout my kingdom should tremble with fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God and he will endure forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed and his rule will never end. He rescues and saves his people. He performs miraculous signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. Now that is the story of Daniel in the lion's den. But let me just explain super fast of the study Bible, because it really does help us take it into our own lives today. The study Bible says lions roamed the countryside and forest, and people feared them so gratefully and respected them for their power. Some kings hunted lions for sport, but the Persians captured lions, keeping them in large parks where they were fed and attended. The lions were also used for executing people. But God has a way of delivering his people that none of us can imagine. It is always premature to give up and give in to the pressure of unbelievers, because God has power that they know nothing about. God can even shut the lion's mouth. The person who trusts in God and obeys his will is untouchable until God grants permission to take that person. To trust God is to have an immeasurable amount of peace. God, who delivered Daniel, will deliver you. Do you trust him with your life? I always joke around because I go out and baptize people. And usually if I'm going to anywhere in the South, I will have people concerned for gators. And they will message me all the time, "Aren't you scared of gators?" And I will always say, if God can shut the lion's mouth, he can shut the gator's mouth too. And it's a joke, but it's also serious because I have enough trust in my God that I'm going to go out into these uncharted waters that I've never been to. And I'm going to stand there from 10 a.m. until midnight. And I'm going to baptize so many people, and I'm going to be okay. He's going to sustain my body. He's going to keep me from harm. And this has been the case for 15 baptism events. The Lord our God is so much more mighty than we ever give him credit for being. He created you. He created this earth. Of course, he's in control of the animals. He's in control of so much, but we have free will. We are the only creation that he made that has free will. We are the only ones that get to choose. So you get to choose. You choose to obey him. You choose to trust him. You choose God. And that choice right now is so crucial. I don't know what you're going through, but if you find yourself in a lion's den, there is a God that you can call out to, and he will answer you if you are faithful. May God bless you. I hope you liked this episode of Daniel and the Lion's Den, and I'll see you soon for another Scripture Simplified.